All right, let's go.
Are we live on YouTube too?
We are now live on YouTube.
Oh, let me
Okay.
refresh. Oh, there's me.
Yes.
Cool. There's my head.
All right. Nice. Got any viewers in here?
Are we live on LinkedIn? No. No, it's alright.
All right. It says. Does it say there's viewers? 27 watching.
Oh,
All right, let's
alright,
go
cool.
chat.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to show off some. It's the first time we're doing this, so we'll see how it goes. Bear with us, but I think it's going to be pretty chill. Ask questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring and just answering as we go. Yeah, who cares about LinkedIn? That's where I go for all my live streams. Duh. But yeah, we're super excited to be here because we've been working on prototyping for a few months now. Some of you have probably already seen some very early versions of it. A lot has probably struggled through the super early beta and a lot of the kinks that we've had to work out, but we're finally ready to go live to the world with a new way to prototype with AI. And I think the biggest things for us were, especially as the landscape of AI code tools has exploded, everyone's jumping into, chat with a prompt and vibe code something or go into Cursor even. At the end of the day, your designs always live somewhere else. And so I think one of the biggest problems we wanted to solve is like, how do I just make my designs real, right? How do I actually just take exactly what I designed? You don't even have to use AI for that, right? It's something that I actually tweak, put my care into, tweak those border radiuses, and then I just want to make it interactive. Why do I have to go through 3 different layers of translation or MCP servers and just kind of guess what's going to happen? And so that was the biggest problem we were trying to solve is because in Subframe, you're already designing in code. We have that. Your UI is already done. Now, let's add some business logic, let's add some functionality, and again, empower designers to really, really be builders these days. So, yeah, with that, should we check it out?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let me share my screen from here. All right, if I go into here. All right, share screen, window, and this guy right there. All right, so we'll just start off with a very quick demo, but we'll dive in deeper, make some things on the fly. Also talk a little bit about all these little interactions that we've been working on that feel a little bit different. So what you see here is a design that I made. I don't think I even used AI for this. I pretty much just handmade it. It looks kind of like a settings page for kind of a fintech company, right? Seeing your wallet, your monthly plan here. And even though this is, this wallet here is a simple card, right? It's basically just a stack with an image and some text on it. It feels like it could be sleeker, right? And I think a lot of the very initial use cases for something like prototyping and making it real is just make it interactive, right? Because we're in design mode, as you guys know in Subframe, we're still on the design canvas. These switches, right? I can move them around, things like that, but they don't actually work yet. The code is here, and of course, what we usually do is take this code and bring it into a tool like Cursor, your favorite IDE, to design it out. But what if you're already in here and you just want to play around with the interactions? So if you go, we got a new tab, right? We have Ask AI, Design, and Code. That's been around for a while when you're in the Subframe editor. And we now have this prototype tab added in. And so when I go ahead and click this, we actually spin up on the left. This is no longer a design canvas. This is an actual real working web app that's using the exact code from your designs. So it's pixel perfect, right? It looks exactly the same. If I just go back to design mode, right? It almost looks like it doesn't even change. But I've added a few prompts, right? I just told it to animate this card. And as you see, we got a nice hover effect, this kind of cool 3D motion, right? And suddenly, right, I could full screen preview this, I could send it as a link, and already I feel like I'm starting to actually build something that I couldn't do in a design tool. How did we build this, right? How did I prompt it? Well, I think one of the most exciting things about prototyping is we really challenged ourselves to not default to chat, because chat is kind of
That's lame, dude.
it's easy, right?
Yeah.
It's easy, but as a designer, I'm not always chatting. I'm not always in a chat mood, right? I'm focused in. I've already done this work, and so what I'm used to as a designer after I finish a design is going in and adding some comments, right? I might hover on something, this element, and in this case, I click on this card, and I just add this annotation. Animate this card on hover based on the cursor so that it has a 3D scale and perspective effect with subtle spotlight. This gets added just as a regular comment. We could add one right now maybe. Maybe we'll make these toggle switches work. So let's go ahead and make sure these switches can be toggled on and off, right? So I can comment on that whole box and it's gonna know that there's switches inside. And then maybe we'll do something like when I enable auto renew, update the monthly plan card on the right with text that says auto renew enabled. So I'm not actually giving it a design right now, but this is kind of an easy state. We'll go into actually how to add more designs across your prototypes. But let's go ahead. You can see that I've added these comments, and I have these pending design changes. So we actually recognize the ones that I added, and I could go ahead and apply. Now we just fired off these two different prompts. I could achieve the same effect just by chatting. That's kind of the big difference that we've added is we kind of caved and added chat anyway, along with other things, right, to make this happen. Because I do think there's use cases for both, but these annotations is really the key because not only are you able to make more targeted edits, you're kind of building, like, you have a big perspective on this, like you see it as documentation.
Yeah, like if we think of LLMs as a new way to program, like I think when you code and you're using a programming language, the code that you write, if you run it 10 times in a row, it will always produce the same result. I think that when you're prompting, you are, yes, creating the code, but you're not creating the artifact that when rebuilt will always produce the same result again. And I think that's kind of a mistake because you're not really creating that, you're not really creating like, I don't know, you're not really creating that artifact. Like it's really hard to see LLMs as a new programming language unless you have a way to capture all of the behaviors and all of your conversations and store that somewhere that could be easily editable. And for us, we think of prototypes as, both the visuals, which is the design, as well as notes about how the design should behave. And for us, annotations were super important to to be that stepping stone for prototyping because, well, yeah, you're literally capturing your thoughts and putting it somewhere where it could be stored and continue to be edited and modified. So I don't know. I think it's super important. I think that where we're going to take it is chat is going to be also more deeply integrated with annotations. So you can imagine, hey, I could label my designs with annotations, or I could chat with the AI and it will be able to suggest the new annotations that should be applied over my designs. And the vision, if you see on the bottom right, there's a start over button. The vision is that, after hours, hundreds of hours of working on your prototype, at the end, you have something that could be rebuilt every single time and generate the same results. And I think that will make LLMs the new programming language, and it won't be always just chat and chat histories.
Yeah, and definitely, I think that idea of, the artifact is always the end resulting code, but having that intent captured. And I think what's really cool from an edge perspective too is we go into code, right? We get, this is the boilerplate code that we generate on the fly without AI. That's just baked into Subframe. If I actually go ahead and click on this now, you could see that this annotation is added as a comment that's inline to code. So we are actually embedding these prompts directly into the reference code. This is something that works, again, lives beyond the prototype because it's starting to be documented. And if you do hand off this code to your engineers to actually build it, connect it to your database and things like that, you'll have the same annotations baked right in, reference, and context. And so I really think, going away from just chat to only produce an output, which can kind of feel like a slot machine, to something that is there and linked to specific elements, that's what's really exciting and really different here. Now, we saw that this is working now, right? We got auto renew enabled, but it just added this text, right? So this is a key difference because we're still design first, and prototype is really meant to be the thing that just adds interactions and brings it to life. We don't expect you to create designs here. You can see that it did, right? I prompted it to say, add this text, and it took a best guess at this little green text. But what if I want to give it a specific design? Well, I could go back to design mode, and maybe I'll go ahead and add a badge here, right? So add a badge, we'll make it green. We'll say auto renewed. And I can have this in the design. I could create a different page for these different states, but for little things, it's easy to just put it still on one page. And maybe just, for the sake of it, we have this auto renewed, and then what else we got? I was gonna make some design. Actually, let's go and just do this part, right? So we open prototype back up. This is still playing the last version. But you could see that we have pending design changes at the bottom to that wallet page. So this is that cracking that code of your prototype is always linked to your design. So we can auto detect these changes and we can make those updates for you when they happen. So maybe I'll go in and why don't we maybe update this annotation, which is something we could do now. So when I enable auto renew, update the monthly plan card, to show the auto renewed badge, right? And then maybe I'll go in, click on the badge, and just say hide this unless auto renew is enabled. So I added these couple of annotations. You can see that again, we have now the design updated and these couple annotations updated. I'm gonna go ahead, click apply. These guys get sent, and it's going to make those updates for us. For small changes, maybe we'll see that next. If you're just doing things like styles and things like that, that's going to be super fast. We have basically an auto apply feature, but here we're kind of adding some conditional logic, introducing a new element. So it's going to rewrite, again, just those parts of the app that it feels like it needs to.
What I love about this is you didn't have to chat there. You are adding a badge with such precision, and I'm so sick of these AI tools where I have to where I have to describe where the badge should go instead of just showing the AI where it should be.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm in design mode, and I do think there's kind of there has been two modes that have been unlocked here. Like I find myself starting to chat more and more for things that maybe don't point to a specific design. We'll see that in a second. But when I am in design mode, like that's such a big mental shift to go to now describing like at a high level. It just feels like you're like yelling at a design versus just putting sticky notes. So, all right, our design still looks pretty sleek, right? Our prototype hasn't veered away. These buttons still don't do anything, but now auto renew subscription, boom, easy, right? It took away, it understood that that code probably reused some of the same implementation logic, like the state that it created to show that text, but now we were able to nudge it to the same design that we actually wanted. And so this is really just small little details in the beginning, but I think it really unlocks that as a designer, your time is never wasted going in here and actually working in design mode, right? Because you just want, it's the same thing with handoff, right? I can trust this guy to implement pretty much anything that I dream of. Actually, working with a front-end engineer, like Irvin is kind of right every designer's dream because you can basically just chat. It's like we can have a conversation over lunch. Sometimes you don't even need designs and it's gonna just build that for you, right? Exactly your vision. But we know we've all worked with places where you have to be very explicit, and I think AI falls into that category of being non-deterministic, of kind of going all over the place and having really nudge it in one place. Now, of course, we're really diving into prototype here, but all of this design, speaking of that, kind of like how can I make sure that this is, already has some of the patterns in my head? That's what our Ask AI is already doing, right? So if we go back to design phase, and maybe we'll add a new page here. Let's see. I know this isn't the most exciting page, but maybe we'll do a billing history page. So I'm going to go back to design mode, right? Because I made my prototype. This page looks awesome, but now I want to connect it to a flow to actually get these things working. So why don't we do one for billing history? And if I go back to Ask AI, you could see that current page is already selected, right? So we're going to actually reference the design, when we design a new page. And why don't we do create a few variations of a billing history page to add to these settings. And try to use a similar design, but explore different ways of presenting the billing information. And so I can send that off. I'm in like a kind of like a test project, so there's not actually a lot of designs in here that are super consistent. But of course, this is using our design system, and it's gonna learn over time just as you build things out. And so that's kind of how we, there's still, I think, a difference where prototyping really is there when you want to just bring things to life, but make sure to go back to design mode when you actually want to build out more things. And then, kind of magically, prototype will be able to hook it all up together.
We should play some music.
Yeah, that's the next one. If anyone wants to DJ the next live stream announcement, we got you. Yeah.
I mean, this is our first one. We can do some cool stuff here. Yeah, what if we had a DJ in the background? That'd be sick.
All right, we got some pages going, and actually, this one on the left looks pretty sleek. So we got a few different versions. This one too. So I'm going to save this as a new page. We got our billing history. And of course, I know I show this feature off so much, so most of you have probably seen it, but if you like something from a different design, you can just drag that in, maybe this quick actions.
Yeah.
Boop, right? You can mix and match and combine. And these are things that are completely impossible with if you were just working with an AI code tool to begin with, right? Because you're not on that design layer. So let's go ahead. We got our design now. And the important thing to keep in mind now that we're building out a prototype is that a prototype is equivalent to a flow. So if you go into Subframe, right, you got all your pages, and you can see that we have these different flows created. They're basically like folders for different pages, but they're also, they contain a prototype. So if you do, basically every time you created your first prototype, we're gonna put it in a flow for you. But if you wanna add more pages, you gotta make sure it's in the flow. And you could do that either the way I did it, by just saving it as a new page from the current one, or if you're even in prototype mode, we have a little new page button here as well. It says pages and prototype. But let's go back to our design for billing history. Cool, I did this back to settings, so maybe we'll use that as kind of our main point. Anything fancy to do that on this page? Not sure. Maybe we'll just link it together for now, right? So we'll go ahead. I'm going to go into prototype for the wallet, and I'm going to go back to annotate mode, and let's go ahead and say, when I click this, navigate to the billing history page. And then if I wanted to, I could go to billing history, show all these annotations here, and when I click this, go back to the wallet. Right, so pretty simple, but the big thing we're doing is we're introducing a whole new page to this prototype. So I could go ahead, you could see pending design changes again, billing history has been added. I might have tweaked something on the wallet, or it's a new annotation.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and apply this and let it now hook up multiple pages together.
In the meantime, we have a few questions from chat. What about responsive breakpoints? Can I see a mobile version of this? How do we see that?
Yeah, so mobile design in Subframe, we're definitely desktop first design. It's on this responsive canvas. If I go back to design mode, you could see that you could preview everything and do overrides in mobile. Clearly this one is not mobile optimized, so maybe we'll make that vertical, and I could ask AI as well to help me here. But okay, that's pretty good. Maybe we'll fill that, right? So I can make changes like this, and these little pink dots, right, mean that I just created overrides so that that page is responsive. You can always preview this stuff in our preview, where if I drag this around, right, we could see all the breakpoints collapsing, and they're doing a much better job than before. And really, when you go back to prototype, we'll probably see that those designs have been updated, and we could add them to the next version. But yeah, for responsive, that happens in design mode. Again, you can probably chat with it in prototype as well, but if you want those, pesky little Tailwind classes to be added, or flex wrap behavior, and be actually embedded in the design, that's where you go back to design mode.
We have another question about, I'd appreciate some tutorials regarding backend, like linking and securing user data, API keys. How do you actually deploy it? I think that's interesting because I think that Subframe is a great way to get all of your front end done. But if you want to deploy a real app, I think the best way to get started is two ways. The first is that from your designs, you could always export it to Cursor or Claude Code or any of these other tools. And what we give to all these AIs is your designs with your annotations. And kind of going back to the idea of that is the artifact. That should have all the instructions, theoretically, for an AI to build the app that you need. Once you export that, you would build it the same way you would build any other app on Cursor. So that's one way. That's how I usually like to do my personal projects. I design it out in Subframe and I export it via Cursor. The second way is that for any prototype you build here, you can actually download the entire source file. And that creates a VDAP, you just run it, and from there, again, you use Cursor to continue setting up your backend, and it's really super simple to deploy via Vercel or any other hosting providers. You'll find plenty of tutorials on VD and Cursor online. And any plans to build a Subframe MCP server? If we had more engineers.
Yeah, I think this idea of context and context that lives as, again, annotations, that lives as essentially code, but also, for us, it's anything related to the design. So obviously your design system, all the pages you already have, all those annotations on that pages, the RAG that we do on your own pages and documentation that you add, something that we're thinking about. I think that's what's making this possible, and opening that up from kind of your favorite IDE to be able to reference. Definitely something we're thinking about. All right, so this guy is working a little slower because we've added a whole new page, and so that's why managing your pages is definitely something I recommend. If you add 20 pages to a flow and then try to build a prototype, you're probably pushing the limits a little bit. So we definitely recommend you starting, smaller and working your way up. But we're also thinking, we understand that a lot of pages are kind of also just different states. And that's something that we're really trying to solve with Subframe coming up is, if we go back, here I'll open up a new tab while this is running. If we go back to that page, there might be a lot of states that aren't necessarily new pages, kind of like even this auto renewal, right? Like technically that could, in Figma, you would probably make that a separate frame with that check button selected or not. And I do think there's something really powerful about being able to compress a lot of these things into, kind of one page with some guidance and then like an artifact that actually shows the behavior way better than just writing it all out pretty much. But yeah, we wanna make sure that if you do want different states, often I just find myself like wanting to copy and paste the snippet, that we could reference that easily and also make it a lot more efficient for the AI.
I mean, we could show that hidden feature snippets and annotations.
Yeah, why don't, here, it's this guy, I might have navigated away and broke this guy. Let's see. All right, it was working a little slower. Let me go ahead and rerun that. So yeah, hitting some snags. So this is all live demo, all on prod right now. We got this out, early into this morning. So you guys are truly seeing how the sausage is made. But the cool thing is we added revert as well. So I saw this apply button, so I went ahead and just did that, which is going to fix this responsive behavior and see if looks like it's updating the navigation between pages as well. So it did remember these annotations. This might have just been, a small fluke. You can see it's actually going faster. Maybe that one just got throttled a little. But if you ever run into a wall, we have the ability to restore previous versions, something we didn't have before in our early beta. That works how you expect. It's pretty easy to use, and it's also pretty fast because we are actually storing that history. I know you were talking about the code for prototyping as well. So I want to show that. Hopefully I don't recreate my mistake.
Good.
Okay. I think this guy's pretty much done. Almost. Okay. So if I do view code for this previous version, that's what Irvin was talking about, this package that you have for your prototype. And what's nice here is that you're getting a little bit of a mental, this basically serves as a great starting project for bringing things into tools like Cursor. That's because we are doing what we already do if you use Subframe in production. So you have this component that was made that matches your designs based on some of the fancy stuff that we do behind the scenes with that logic baked in. But you also see this UI folder that has all the components that already exist in your design system. And that happens when you sync using our CLI sync, if you make design system updates. And you basically get that already set up out of the box when you download this code, zips it up into a folder, and yeah, you could go ahead and open it in your IDE, then run sync again if you're making changes, and just continue iterating there. All right, let's see this guy worked this time. Go back, press play. Let's make this full screen. Let's go to billing history. Boom, we got our new page. Didn't ask it to do much here, I don't think, right? We just add navigation, but you can see it's that easy, as easy as adding a new page to your flow. All right, so
this live stream is getting boring. Let's show them some cool stuff now.
yeah, what did I have up in here? So, oh, we didn't show component sync. While we're on that, last one here, because I just mentioned that design system stuff, right? Not only your design sync, but also your theme and your design system components. So if you go back and you say, hey, maybe let's change the fonts. Let's do something. Why don't we do that? But then let's make these guys serif. All our headings. So I'm gonna update my theme. Let's make maybe our neutrals. We'll go back. Let's make them a little bluer. And maybe our radius, border radius. Let's bump these guys up. Let's do 8, 16, and 24. And okay, so pretty subtle here, but I could also go back to a component. Maybe our buttons, we don't want to be rounded. Right, I'm making these design changes. Maybe we'll make them a little darker. Our neutral primary is automatically updated. And then why don't we make them also small and uppercase? Cool. I think that should be enough to show the difference. If we go back to design, of course, our designs have updated. Maybe we'll go in and get rid of this shadow, right? Maybe we'll add a border instead. Pretty different design style here. Maybe we'll move some things around too, right? We want to, now that these are using the serif font, we could bump that up. So we're clearly making these design updates. Maybe I even move this to the top. You can obviously imagine doing everything. And if I go back to prototype, you can see that we've got a few changes that have been updated. Of course, the design, we got our theme, and those design system components. So that's really very similar to running the CLI sync command. But that's that way that we not only keep the design in sync, but your entire design system. And new in the chat?
Nope, we're chilling. We're chilling. Because after this, love to show the stream viewer is kind of how we use prototyping and the cool stuff where we're gonna be shipping soon.
Yeah, the best thing right now is you have unlimited prototyping, unlimited AI design, and unlimited prototyping right now on the Pro plan. So take advantage of that. We're definitely learning from it. We want to see what you make. You could share these prototypes with the share button. Once that loads, you get a link here that says share latest prototype. And that's just a web link you could send to anyone. We'd love to curate the best things people do and share them.
Yeah, and you can also be creating prototypes in our free plan. And if you ever want support, please join our Slack community.
All right, you can see our prototype updated, matches the design perfectly. All those things still work. Billing history, cool. So that's how easy it is to keep your prototypes functional and still be able to inherit designs. Now, I think one of the biggest things, especially when you're going into multiple pages that we've heard, not just for prototyping, but in Subframe in general, is, we took a big contrarian take on not building a canvas-based design tool to start. Now, I've been nagging this guy for almost 2 years about that.
Yeah.
Why was that, though? Tell me about why we got to where we are, why we started here.
Because as a tool that needs to always be rooted in code, I think our product philosophy is to add a lot of constraints first and then slowly take it away when our users ask for it. So, and the reason constraints matter is for designs to truly export to code, you need these constraints. And for a long time, I've resisted the idea of an infinite canvas because it is probably the least constrained way of coding. And I also think that messy design files are just not the way AI will work in the future. We need to have a single source of truth for what is in production / what is like the golden set for your design system. And mess is okay if we know how to label that mess. For instance, hey, I'm working on this page over here, but I might have a bunch of stuff on the side that I'm just iterating over, but that is just scratch work. So for us, I think, for all those reasons, I've been very resistant to infinite canvas unless we could build the proper constraints so that whatever we give to these prototypes and AI will always be the best data set, if that makes sense, the best context.
All right, and so with that, we're going to do a little sneak peek, a very tiny one, into what's coming next. I'm going to share the screen again. And what you're actually seeing is a little bit of an inside view into also how we build Subframe in Subframe. So you can see we got a double nav bar here is because everything inside, this is actually a live Subframe prototype that we built
Put on blinders
inside
again.
of Subframe. So boom,
Yep.
go out, we're back in design mode. This is exactly how we build Subframe in Subframe. I got these cards, we got this tool, right? A lot of the base components, pretty much all the base components are exactly the ones that you see. A lot of this is really, a design that I'm working on. So it's a little looser, trying out new ideas, but you could see that how do you design a canvas? It's kind of impossible in a design tool. So yeah, and even here, right, in Subframe, you go ahead and it's like, great, all I can do is really create these stacks with a bunch of containers, and prototype really unlocks that, and we go really deep into meta. I've been working on this prototype, looks like I'm on version 77, And this is actually where I was using, as an example, a lot of the chat more. So if we peep into my annotations, I have a decent amount here. Show only this page when selected. Some of that state, maybe just like telling it to have certain things updated, show the current zoom value. But really, this was the main one. Make this a draggable, zoomable canvas. And that's really all I had to do to unlock something that starts to feel real. And of course, these are just images right now, but we got zoom, we got a canvas, and some of the things that we're thinking about, to Irvin's point, which I agree, is as designers, we love to create a mess. We create a mess, and then some of us are actually also, I don't know, I'm pretty nostalgic about things, and I'm a design hoarder. And then we have all these random things off to the side, or we create that page, right? That's like our archive that we literally never go back to, probably, but you want to keep around. And so we're like, how do we balance the two, right? How do we still see the value of being able to see things side by side on a canvas, being able to drag things around, but have it be a little more constrained? I don't know about you guys, but when I'm actually putting together a flow, I'm always trying to align it perfectly, always matching that the pages are the right spacing between each other, right? When I put it together, well, why don't we just put those things together? Why can't we just have a canvas that feels infinite, but lets you just drag stuff to a grid? So that everything's always aligned, and you really can't create some of those messes that we're used to. Maybe we'll add a page here, and this really, I think, unlocks a great way for designers to be able to organize their stuff, see the things in a flow. Maybe these 3 pages here at the bottom will be a different idea, or different 3 states of one page. Maybe these things will be 2 different pages to navigate, and you'd be able to see them all together, double click to go into a design, and still have our editor that a lot of you know and love, that has the responsive canvas, but then always be able to zoom out and put that, see it in one place. So that's what we're working on. This is what you're seeing is super early preview, because this is literally a prototype inside of Subframe, and you can see the history here, right? We got a lot of the annotations, but a lot of things like, I don't know, some bug fixes. There's a weird interaction when hovering on a page, shows action buttons, but clicking on them doesn't work, right? That's where I usually use chat, is when I want to fix stuff, or things that just maybe are harder to describe, right? Allow me to click on a page to toggle it while remaining on the canvas, only open it. So really, it's up to you how you use this, but we really wanted to create 2 different modes for you. One where annotations are always linked to designs, a free-form chat where you could iterate, fix things, and keep going. And at the end of the day, always have your designs right there and there. So this is coming. Stay tuned, and definitely if you want early access,
please let us know.
How should we let us know?
How can users give us feedback, questions, things like that?
Slack community is probably the best. I don't know if you want to drop that link in the current chat.
I don't have access to chat for some reason.
No, you don't have access to chat.
YouTube disabled my chat box. I don't know.
All right. We will be following up with a link, or you could just check us out.
Or even the bottom right, we have chat with us, intercom.
No, it's up here.
What?
We got Slack. We got Slack right there.
Right.
In the top now.
But you can message us as well. You can also email us, Irvin@subframe.com, Philip@subframe.com, support@subframe.com. Any of the subframe.coms will be able to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I know we're launching prototype. I think there's still some changes along the canvas that we'll want to hear from you. We worked really hard to make these annotations feel kind of in between a comment, which is also a feature that might be on our roadmap. And again, annotations, how to make sure that you could switch between modes, be able to see those updates, go back to chat, switch between design and prototype. We're really in new uncharted territory. We love that you guys are along with us. We're super open to feedback and making this better, because I think probably hundreds of you have tested the very early versions that probably almost never worked, that the UX was impossible to figure out. And
Our prototyping beta, oh my, thank you. Thank you folks for
we love everyone who's an early adopter. We are ourselves, we're dog fooding, so we'd love to come along on this journey.
Is that it?
And all of this is live right now, and like I said, unlimited plan on the pro plan. Free plan right now has one prototype limit.
That's right, man. Yeah, because we want free. We're gonna swallow a lot of the AI costs, but we want free plan members to really see the magic of Subframe. So it's gonna be free right now.
And we got a few minutes left. If there's any questions, let's see. Can I see chat?
That's right here. I think that's it. All right. First live stream.
Yeah.
Done.
Let us know what you want to see next time. This is pretty fun and chill.
It needs to be more chaotic, I think, next time, but that's just my taste.
Maybe some special guests.
Oh, that could be cool. Could hire a DJ.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, can we end the stream?
Thanks all.